They called it the final cleansing. A perfect strike, calculated over decades, meant to erase humanity from existence without a single warning shot. From the dark corners of the Orion Rim, fleets of alien warships assembled, vast armadas of silver and shadow carrying the arrogance of countless conquered worlds. Their leaders spoke with cold conviction, certain that Earth would fall like every other defiant planet before it. Humanity, they believed, was fractured, primitive, still licking its wounds from old wars. What they didn't know was that Earth had been watching and waiting. The first signs came quietly. Strange energy spikes beyond Neptune, comms disruptions across the lunar grid, whispers of invisible ships passing through the Kuiper Belt. The United Terran Council knew what was coming long before the stars began to dim. For years, Earth's defenses had been hidden behind a veil of silence. Technologies too dangerous to reveal, alliances too secret to name. Every colonist, soldier, and scientist had been part of something bigger than they realized. A trap centuries in the making. In orbit, the fleets of humanity moved like ghosts. No signals, no chatter, no lights. The deep black of space hid the Terran warships that had been built in forgotten shipyards and mined from asteroids no map recorded. Humanity had learned its lesson from history. Survival was never about numbers, but about the will to adapt. While the enemy prepared their cleansing, Earth prepared its ambush. Down on the surface, cities stayed calm, but not out of ignorance. Civilians knew what was coming. The truth had spread quietly through coded messages, passed like old war stories. Families watched the skies knowing they might never see them again, but they didn't panic. Because this time, humanity wasn't running. This time, the invaders would step into a battlefield they didn't understand. At the heart of it all stood Earth's Defense Command, men and women who had sworn never to let another world dictate the fate of their species. They had seen what these invaders did to other civilizations, how they burned their histories, enslaved their survivors, and turned their planets into silent graves. Humanity had been underestimated too many times before, and this would be the last mistake the galaxy ever made about them. The alien fleets arrived on schedule, just as their generals predicted. Thousands of ships emerging from fold space, their weapons charged and ready. But something was wrong. Their sensors caught false readings. Their communications scrambled. The silence of space began to twist into confusion. Then came the first ripple, a pulse so faint it almost went unnoticed, followed by a flicker of light from the far side of Mars. That was the moment the trap began to close. As the invading ships reoriented, entire constellations seemed to shift. From the darkness, Earth's hidden armada awakened, ships that shouldn't have existed, weapons that defied known science, and a single transmission broadcast across every channel. Welcome to Earth. The galaxy had come to end humanity, but what they didn't realize was that Earth had been waiting for this war all along. The alien commanders stared at their screens, disbelief etched into every sharp line of their faces. Their calculations had been flawless, their strategy impeccable. Or so they thought. Every scout ship, every orbital drone, had reported nothing but empty space, where Earth's defenses should have been. Now, as the first pulses of Terran weapons lit up the void, their confidence began to crumble. They had expected resistance, yes, but not this level of precision, not this depth of preparation. Back on Earth, the people behind the ambush watched silently from underground command centers, asteroid bases, and cloaked orbital stations. Decades of planning, of research, of quiet preparation had led to this moment. It wasn't luck that gave them the edge. It was patience, discipline, and a refusal to underestimate the universe. They had studied every known alien civilization's tactics, learned the patterns of invasion, and found weaknesses that none of the aggressors had considered. But even they knew that knowledge was not enough. Battles could be unpredictable, and even the best-laid plans could be tested to their breaking point. The alien fleet had grown too confident, their arrogance blinding them to subtle anomalies. Small, almost imperceptible shifts in gravity fields, strange energy distortions, and gaps in the sensor networks were ignored as minor glitches. They did not see the traps lying in wait across the asteroid belt, the decoy fleets that seemed to be vulnerable, and the electromagnetic storms designed to confuse navigation systems. Earth had turned the solar system itself into a weapon, a labyrinth where every misstep could mean disaster. Within the Terran command centers, a new generation of officers had taken charge. Those who had grown up hearing stories of humanity's past brushes with extinction and survival. They understood instinctively that intelligence and creativity could triumph over sheer firepower. Their leaders didn't just rely on technology. They relied on people who thought like hunters, who saw possibilities where others saw obstacles. Every signal intercepted, every enemy move tracked, fed into a network that could predict patterns almost before they happened. Yet even with all this preparation, tension ran high. Every operator knew that one miscalculation could trigger catastrophic consequences. Ships that had been hidden for decades now moved in formation, their outlines still invisible to enemy sensors, yet ready to strike at the perfect moment. Earth's ambush wasn't just about firepower, it was psychological. It was a statement. Humanity might be underestimated, but it could not be ignored. Meanwhile, the invaders attempted to regroup. Their warships adjusted formations, shields flaring, engines thrumming with sudden acceleration. They were trained for war, yes, but they had never encountered a planet that fought back this way. Their reports spoke of ghost fleets, of energy signatures that disappeared as quickly as they appeared, of systems that defied their understanding. Panic, subtle at first, began to seep into the ranks. For the first time, their so-called flawless plan was unraveling. On Earth, the observers remained calm, but inside, hearts pounded. Every success in the ambush had been calculated, yet every second still held uncertainty. No one knew exactly how the aliens would respond next. One misstep, one unexpected maneuver, and decades of preparation could collapse into chaos. And in the distance, past the orbit of Jupiter, something else stirred, an unknown variable, silent and watchful, whose allegiance was yet to be revealed. It wasn't just Earth versus invaders anymore. The galaxy itself seemed to hold its breath, waiting for the next move. Humanity had set the trap. The aliens had walked in. But the game was far from over, and the real test had only just begun. The alien fleet faltered. Each command met with unexpected resistance. Signals bounced back with interference they could not trace, and entire squadrons reported phantom readings of Terran warships where nothing should exist. From the bridge of the lead cruiser, the alien commander slammed a clawed hand on the control panel, frustration radiating through the room. Their invasion, meant to be swift and decisive, was already bogged down in confusion. They had anticipated some resistance, but the scale of Earth's preparedness had no precedent. Meanwhile, deep within Earth's hidden command hubs, analysts worked in shifts around holographic star maps, tracking every movement, every ripple of energy from the enemy forces. Some of them had never seen a real battlefield, yet their minds were trained to predict patterns of war. One officer noticed a subtle clustering in the alien formation, ships moving slightly off-grid. It was a potential weakness, but exploiting it could risk exposing a hidden Terran fleet lying in wait near Saturn's rings. Every decision carried weight, a delicate balance between patience and aggression. On a separate front, the orbital colonies played their own crucial role. They were tasked with monitoring enemy reinforcements from the outer rim and ensuring no surprises reached the inner solar system. Communications were minimal, but the stress was palpable. Technicians monitored energy fluctuations, adjusting cloaking fields and power outputs to maintain invisibility. Each day in hiding had been painstaking, but now the moment of truth had arrived. The colonies weren't just observers, they were the pivot around which the ambush would either succeed or fail. The aliens themselves were beginning to fracture internally. Some factions demanded an immediate assault to regain control, while others urged caution, suspecting a trap far more elaborate than they had predicted. Tension ran high among their leaders, arguments echoing through the armored corridors of command ships. Their morale, once unwavering, was beginning to erode. The very humans they had planned to annihilate now dictated the pace of the conflict, using patience as a weapon as much as firepower. Back on Earth, scientists and engineers had their own subplots unfolding. Teams worked to maintain the integrity of the orbital weapons platforms while simultaneously monitoring signals from the alien fleet. One unusual reading caught the attention of a young analyst, a series of low-frequency pulses that didn't match known Terran or alien technology. It hinted at something else in the solar system, something moving silently, possibly watching both sides. The presence of this unknown force added a new layer of danger, a reminder that in war, even the best-laid plans could be disrupted by unforeseen variables. On the front lines of space, skirmishes flared without warning. Minor clashes erupted between isolated squadrons, tests of shields and weapons. Each encounter seemed almost ritualistic, a chess game played with real ships and real lives. Every explosion, every evasive maneuver added to the growing chaos. And while humanity's forces had the advantage of preparation and hidden positions, they knew the aliens would adapt, eventually. The question was how long Earth could hold its edge before the invaders learned to fight back effectively. Across the solar system, tension mounted like a drawn bow. Every orbit, every maneuver, every heartbeat mattered. Humanity had orchestrated an ambush unlike any the galaxy had ever seen, but even as the aliens stumbled into it, new uncertainties emerged. Reinforcements from unknown regions, mysterious energy pulses, and unpredictable enemy reactions created a web of suspense that neither side could fully untangle. The war for Earth's survival had begun in earnest, and no one yet knew how far the battle would reach, or what it might awaken in the dark void beyond. The solar system had become a battlefield unlike any other. From the shadow of Jupiter's moons to the icy expanse beyond Neptune, Terran fleets moved like ghosts, unseen yet deadly, striking with precision and vanishing before the aliens could respond. The enemy commanders tried to rally their forces, but hesitation had already seeped into their ranks. Every failed maneuver, every missed shot heightened the tension. The alien warships were powerful, yes, but their confidence was cracking under the pressure of a humanity they had underestimated. Deep within Earth's command centers, the atmosphere was electric. Analysts and officers leaned over holographic maps, tracing the enemy's every shift. One by one, the alien squadrons were being funneled into zones where hidden Terran weapons could strike. The stakes had never been higher. One miscalculation could cost thousands of lives, while a single successful strike could change the tide of the war. Yet even with careful coordination, the unpredictability of battle kept everyone on edge. No one could be certain how the aliens would respond next, or whether the unknown force in the outer system would make its presence known. On the fringes of the solar system, Terran scouts detected something moving silently in the dark void. It was neither part of their fleet nor the alien armada, a shadow of energy, too faint to identify, yet impossible to ignore. The reading set every operator's nerves on edge. Some whispered that it could be an ancient force, a remnant of civilizations long lost, watching as the war unfolded. Others feared it might be a third party entirely, waiting for the right moment to strike both sides. Its presence added a new, unpredictable layer to the conflict, raising the stakes beyond anything humanity had anticipated. Closer to the heart of the ambush, skirmishes erupted with increasing intensity. Alien warships, now desperate to regain control, lunged toward the hidden Terran forces. Beams of plasma and pulses of energy streaked across the blackness of space, leaving trails of destruction in their wake. Terran vessels dodged and countered with deadly accuracy, but every move felt like walking a razor's edge. One wrong decision, one delayed maneuver, could trigger a chain reaction that neither side could contain. On Earth itself, the population watched from shelters and underground cities. While the battle raged above, families waited, their fear tempered by the quiet confidence that had been built into decades of planning. Yet even their resolve was tested by the sheer scale of the conflict. Cities trembled under distant energy pulses, and the sky lit with occasional flashes from orbital clashes. Every transmission that reached Earth reminded its people that the enemy was still formidable, relentless, and dangerous. Tensions ran highest at the command centers where the final stages of the ambush were being coordinated. Terran officers moved swiftly, issuing orders that could not be delayed, adjusting formations as alien movements shifted unexpectedly. Every sensor ping, every intercepted communication carried the potential for revelation or disaster. The anticipation was almost unbearable. The enemy was close to realizing the trap, and time was slipping away. Then, across multiple fronts, warning signals blared almost simultaneously. Alien reinforcements were emerging faster than expected, converging on key Terran positions. At the same time, the unknown force in the outer solar system shifted position, its energy signature growing stronger, closer. Humanity was on the brink. Every move, every strike, every heartbeat mattered now. The ambush had been set, the trap had been sprung, and the galaxy held its breath as Earth's forces and the alien armada edged toward a confrontation that could decide the fate of worlds. The tension was unbearable. Every eye was fixed on the void. Every mind raced with calculations. And in the distance, the first massive shock waves of the approaching clash began to ripple through the silent black of space. Humanity had prepared for this moment for centuries, but nothing could have fully captured the terror and anticipation of what was about to unfold. Just as the first volleys of Terran fire streaked through space, a new signal pulsed across every sensor in the solar system. It wasn't from the alien armada, and it wasn't from any known Terran vessel. The reading was raw, massive, and completely unexpected, an energy signature unlike anything humanity or the invaders had encountered. Across every command hub, alarms rang. Analysts and officers froze, their eyes scanning the displays, trying to make sense of the anomaly. It was as if the universe itself had shifted, introducing a player no one had accounted for. The alien commanders, already reeling from Earth's ambush, faltered further. Their screens flickered as the strange energy began to interfere with their navigational systems. Entire squadrons drifted off course, some narrowly avoiding collisions with asteroid fields they had thought mapped decades ago. Panic flared in their ranks. They had assumed humanity's defenses were the only threat, but now it was clear that a far greater, unknown force was asserting itself. Murmurs ran through the alien bridges. What had they walked into? What had been lying in wait beyond the outer planets? On Earth, Terran leaders exchanged terse messages, their calm veneer cracking just slightly. They had anticipated alien reinforcements, the outer fleets, the hidden weapons, but nothing in their centuries-long planning had predicted an entirely new variable in the solar system. The unknown energy source moved in patterns that were erratic yet purposeful, as if observing, calculating, deciding. Every reading suggested intelligence, not randomness. Humanity had prepared to strike the invaders with precision, but now they faced a question they had no immediate answer for. Could this new force be friend, foe, or something far more dangerous? In orbital sectors, Terran scout ships reported strange gravitational fluctuations. Weapons platforms that had been carefully calibrated to fire at specific alien positions began to misalign. Even cloaked ships found their stealth disrupted, their sensors overwhelmed by the sudden interference. Across the solar system, both humans and invaders felt the unsettling sense that the rules of battle had shifted overnight. For the first time, neither side had the advantage, and the stakes of every decision had just doubled or tripled. The alien fleet, desperate to regain order, started consolidating toward the inner solar system, attempting to bypass the unknown threat. But in doing so, they were funneled even closer to Terran ambush zones. Human commanders realized the opportunity immediately, though the margin for error had narrowed drastically. Every second brought potential disaster, yet it also carried the chance for a decisive strike. The ambush had turned into a multi-layered battlefield, with traps within traps, and the unknown energy moving like a shadow over all of it. Back on Earth, analysts began to suspect something astonishing. The energy pulses, while massive, seemed to avoid direct confrontation with Terran ships. It was as if the force was testing, observing, perhaps even judging. Could it be an ancient intelligence, a remnant of a civilization destroyed long ago? Or something else entirely, one that had been watching humanity's rise and the invaders' arrogance for centuries? Questions multiplied, but answers were elusive. In the distance, past Saturn and toward the outer rim, the energy intensified, surging in waves that bent light and distorted sensors. Both the alien invaders and humanity paused in awe and fear. The trap was set, the ambush in motion, and yet an entirely new danger had appeared, one that could annihilate both sides, or change the course of the war in ways no one had imagined. Humanity had survived countless threats before, but now, in the heart of the solar system, everything hung in the balance. The war was no longer just against the invaders. The universe had thrown a second, unpredictable hand, and the consequences were impossible to calculate. The void of space erupted in chaos as Terran fleets and alien armadas collided, the culmination of centuries of planning and preparation finally unfolding. Plasma beams streaked across the darkness, explosions lighting the black like supernovae in miniature, and every sensor blared with alerts of approaching destruction. Humanity's hidden armada struck with surgical precision, targeting weak points in the alien formations, while the invaders lashed out with desperation, trying to salvage what remained of their shattered confidence. The solar system itself seemed to tremble under the intensity of the clash. Yet, even amid the chaos, the unknown energy that had loomed over the conflict revealed its purpose. A massive pulse radiated outward from the outer rim, destabilizing alien shields and disrupting their propulsion systems. Entire squadrons spun helplessly into the void, unable to respond to commands. Terran ships, prepared for this interference, adjusted their matrices, turning the strange phenomenon to their advantage. It became clear that the force was not random. It was selectively aiding humanity, neutralizing threats while leaving Terran strategies intact. The tide had turned, and Earth's ambush achieved its most devastating effect. Alien commanders screamed orders that no one could follow. Fleets fractured into smaller pockets, trying to escape the relentless coordination of the Terran assault and the mysterious outer force. One by one, capital ships fell, ripped apart by concentrated fire and destabilized by the massive energy pulses. The alien invasion, meant to end humanity, instead found itself caught in a trap more elaborate than any they had imagined. Across the inner solar system, human ships pressed their advantage, cutting off retreat routes and exploiting every weakness in real time. On the command decks, Terran leaders felt the long-held tension finally break, but relief was fleeting. The unknown energy continued to pulse, its intentions still unreadable. Scientists monitoring its signature noticed patterns, mathematical sequences suggesting intelligence, perhaps a consciousness, operating at scales incomprehensible to human minds. Humanity had survived the ambush, but the universe was revealing a force that was bigger, older, and far more mysterious than the invaders. As the last alien flagship collapsed under combined Terran fire and the unknown energy's interference, the solar system fell eerily silent. Debris floated like shattered constellations, the alien threat neutralized but not entirely understood. Humanity had won the battle, saved its home, and exposed its resilience to a galaxy that had underestimated it time and again. Victory was theirs, yet the triumph was tempered by awe and apprehension at the enigmatic presence beyond Saturn, whose motives were unknown. Then, as fleets regrouped and Earth sensors scanned for any lingering threats, the energy shifted once more. It expanded rapidly, sending a pulse across the entire solar system that was neither destructive nor protective, but strangely communicative. Strange symbols and patterns appeared on Terran displays, forming sequences that hinted at knowledge, warnings, and an invitation. Humanity had survived an invasion, but the real challenge was only beginning. The universe had taken notice. And in the distance, beyond the orbit of Neptune, a fleet of objects emerged, vast, angular, and unlike any known technology. They were not part of the alien armada, nor had they been anticipated by Terran intelligence. The message was clear. The battle for survival had been won, but the war for understanding the universe and humanity's place in it was just beginning. The trap had succeeded. The invaders were defeated. But the game, it seemed, had only grown larger. The galaxy held its breath, and Earth's defenders stared into the darkness, realizing that the true story of survival had only begun. The solar system slowly returned to a fragile calm. Debris from the alien armada drifted silently past the planets, a grim reminder of the destruction narrowly avoided. Terran fleets regrouped in orbit around Earth, repairs underway, systems recalibrated, and survivors accounted for. Across the planet, people emerged from shelters and observation posts, the first true moment of relief in decades. Humanity had survived what many believed was inevitable, proving that determination, ingenuity, and unity could overcome even the most advanced threats. In the orbital command centers, officers and analysts reflected on what had just occurred. The ambush had been flawless in execution, yet it had revealed something even more profound. The existence of the unknown energy, a presence that had subtly guided the battle's outcome. Scientists scrambled to interpret the signals, deciphering patterns that hinted at intelligence far beyond humanity's understanding. While the alien threat had been neutralized, the lessons learned were clear. Vigilance and adaptability were essential, and the universe was far more complex than anyone had imagined. Across Earth, celebrations were muted but sincere, cities lit up with cautious joy, communities embracing one another after long nights of fear and uncertainty. The story of the ambush spread quickly, inspiring hope and pride. Humanity had not just defended its home, it had sent a message to the galaxy. Underestimating Earth was a mistake no one would repeat. But even as the celebrations unfolded, Terran leaders emphasized caution. The mysterious presence beyond Neptune, its motives unknown, remained a question mark that could not be ignored. Humanity had won the battle, but the war for knowledge and survival was ongoing. Among the scattered remnants of the alien fleet, captains and crews were forced to reckon with their defeat. Many had believed the war would end swiftly, that Earth would be crushed, and that the galaxy would bend to their rule. Now, the realization sank in. Humanity was not only resilient, but cunning, capable of turning even the most dire situations to its advantage. The survivors retreated, their fleet broken and humbled, carrying with them a new understanding of Earth's capabilities and a grudging respect for the species they had sought to destroy. Back in orbit, the unknown energy remained, pulsing faintly but purposefully. Terran scientists had begun to see it less as a threat and more as an enigmatic ally, a force that had intervened at a critical moment without revealing its intentions. It was a reminder that the galaxy was alive with mysteries, forces beyond comprehension, and potential allies that humanity had only begun to understand. The message was clear: survival required courage, innovation, and a willingness to face the unknown. As Earth's orbit stabilized and the immediate danger passed, humanity turned its eyes outward once more. Space was no longer just a frontier. It was a proving ground, a challenge, and a promise. The ambush had taught humanity the value of preparation, of unity, and of strategic thinking. The aliens had underestimated them, and humanity had endured. Yet even in victory, curiosity and vigilance remained. The solar system, scarred but alive, seemed to exhale. Humanity had defended its home, survived the ambush, and glimpsed a larger universe waiting to be explored. The battle had ended, but the journey had only begun. And somewhere in the far reaches of space, the unknown presence watched, silent, patient, and ever-present. A reminder that the galaxy was vast, mysterious, and full of possibilities for those willing to reach beyond the stars. Humanity had survived. Humanity had triumphed. And now, more than ever, the universe waited for what they would do next.